Welcome back to the Tiger 1 restoration build. In today's video, we're kicking off the rust process, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. I'm going to start by priming the Tiger in a rust-based color using Vallejo German Red Brown. It should give me a nice dark foundation to build on for all the rust effects. This Badger setup is fairly new, but I've been having a few issues with it. You'll see later, I'm getting a bit of water in the airline. I do have a moisture trap and I am releasing the moisture, yet after about 10 minutes, Niagara Falls comes through. The paint's flowing nicely. I've got it thin to that good old milk consistency everyone talks about, and still I'm getting water. So is my paint not thin enough? Maybe it's clogging and changing the airflow, letting moisture sneak through? And why isn't the moisture trap doing its job? Airbrushing can be such a struggle sometimes. Funny thing is, when I was using my Neo Air, I never had an issue, just the usual limitations that came with it. Making a fully rusted tank is something new for me. Sure, I've added rust before, but never across the whole thing. So, this is really a test, and I'm sure there'll be a few areas I wish I had done differently. For example, the road wheels. I originally planned to use the kit tracks and glue them on, which meant I would remove the entire set to be painted. And behind, I would be able to rust and everything, but now the road wheels are stuck in place, so yeah, it's going to be a little hard to paint in those areas. We're about 10 minutes into airbrushing now, and you know what that means. Yep, the water's coming. At this point, I just expect it. Airbrushing has become such a struggle lately. The compressor heats up pretty fast, and I suspect that that's the real culprit, warming the air and making more condensation than the moisture trap can handle. I did buy this second hand, and the seller did say it was new. Well, maybe it sat for a while. Who knows what kind of history it's got. The Badger wasn't my first choice. It was the bargain that sold me. I mean, $100 for both the compressor and a Talon airbrush. Hard to pass that up. After using that Neo for the last few years, honestly, a straw with a bellows would have been an upgrade. What I really want is an Iwata Sprint Jet and a CPS or whatever it's called. I've had both before and they work great, so next time I'm definitely buying them new. If there's such a thing as an airbrush with just one needle that somehow lets you control the paint flow from fine lines to general coverage, that's the one I want. I think I might have mixed up the Talon's needles and caps at some point, so I'll have to sort that out, but I don't think that's the real issue here. Either way, the job's getting done, and since this thing is going to be rusted, it doesn't exactly need to be perfect. Next time I'm going to keep my airbrushing sessions shorter. Spray a bit, clean the airbrush to the compressor, rest, and then jump back in. Well, I'm not going to rest. The compressor's going to rest. I want to test if its overheating is really causing all this water buildup. It's going to be annoying, but if that doesn't fix it, I might just go back to my trusty Neo Air and pretend this whole Badger situation never happened. Alright, switch back to my Neo airbrush. No water issues this time, though to be fair, I did add a second moisture trap. So maybe that's catching whatever escaped before. Still not sure what the real problem is or the culprit. Maybe the compressor, that sounded weird. Maybe it's the humidity, but it's winter. Or maybe, and I hate to say it, it's operator error. At this point, I'm not ruling anything out, so while I cool off from fighting the airbrush demons, let's shift gears and have ourselves a good old-fashioned ramble session. Some good news, it looks like I should be set up with a 3D printer by December. I'm going full Santa Claus on myself and buying one, and let me tell you, the hawk is not happy. She can squawk all she wants, though. I'm getting one. Okay, that was more of a rant than a ramble, but I needed to get that off my chest. Alright, let's continue. I was able to get the job done, and honestly, it turned out pretty good. Now, the road wheels are the next hurdle. I have to paint them before I can properly start rusting this tiger. I really dislike doing them this way, but as I mentioned, I was going to glue them to the tracks, and I hate that even more. With these link and length tracks, it kind of feels necessary, but I'm planning to 3D print all my tracks in the future, so that problem will be solved. So, let's say you don't glue the tracks and paint everything separately. Great. Look at that spacing. It would be a nightmare trying to use CA glue to get them all together. I've done this before, and almost always there's that one section that ends up not fitting right. So I just leave it alone. Missing the rubber tracks? No way. 3D printing is the future, and that future is coming in December. This kit comes with so many road wheels, and I had fully intended to paint them with the tracks on. I could have removed the entire track section, which would have made it painting easier. Not perfect, but better than what I'm doing right now. I'll admit it, it's turning into a bit of a hack job, but I'm hoping the rust and touch-ups will hide most of my crime scene. But I don't think it is because it's so tight in that area. We'll see. So here I am, stuck in a pickle barrel with these road wheels. Not exactly fun, but a challenge. I'll overcome somehow. That's how modeling goes sometimes. Nothing goes right, and other times everything falls perfectly into place. Who actually enjoys painting road wheels anyway? I've been thinking about trying some of those new masks they sell for them. Well, painting them separately is definitely time consuming, but pop on a good movie and just push through it. In the end, the job gets done. Here's mine. Not perfect, but I'll do my best to touch it up later. Now the fun really begins. Here's all my rust arsenal. Paints, pigments, washes, and oils. Spread out on the bench. We're starting with some paints and a dauber. A dauber, you ask? Yes, a leather dye dauber. The best tool for chipping around. To see how to use this tool, check out the video link above. But let's get back to the dauber. It's basically a wool puffball that creates the best chipping effects. My detailing has hit another level once I started using this tool. Now, it won't replace a brush or chipping fluid, but it leaves behind some really nice edge work. You'll notice in my videos, I usually don't show exactly where I get paint from or my cleaning process. I like to keep it clean and neat, but I needed to show you exactly how I do this. Basically, I dip the dauber in the paint and then remove most of it. After that, I gently daub it onto the surface. The big puffball leaves the gentlest of chips. The harder you press, the more it will imprint. You do need to rotate it occasionally to avoid leaving repetitive marks. I picked up 100 of these from Amazon for I think less than $11. I saw this technique on another channel and I can't quite remember the name, so the credit isn't mine, and I believe he learned it from someone else, and that's just how it goes with modeling. So that brings me to a rambling session. Let's talk about chipping. Chipping has to be one of the hardest techniques on a model kit. Two main issues. The brush is tricky to master, and most people tend to overdo it, and myself included. The brush is still the best tool, but it takes practice. Chipping fluid has its uses, but in my opinion, it doesn't give a great result for actual chipping. You can also use a sponge, but not every sponge or foam is good for it. Got the joke? Well, it was supposed to include the "Are you sponge worthy?" You get that one. Anyway, overall, it's a tough technique to master, and that's where the dauber shines. It gives you realistic chipping quickly. You'll still need other tools to reach tight spots that the big dauber can't hit, but that's okay. Alright, I've included a lot of footage showing this dauber in action, so expect more of my rambles in between me explaining what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. For now, I am still working on applying the darkest rust color. You might not see it too clearly yet, but once I start layering the next lighter shade, the effect will really begin to take shape. See that big blob that got laid down? That's one of the drawbacks of the dauber. If you don't remove most of the paint and hit a spot with too much, this can happen. In this case, it's not a problem. Just layer some lighter shades over it or leave it be and call it a Bob Ross happy accident. Alright, time for a quick rant, not a ramble. Bob Ross, I've been seeing these AI clips of him saying the weirdest stuff. Like, come on, the guy's been gone for years. Let him rest in peace. And if that's what AI is being used for, then yeah, maybe those people talking about AI wiping us all out by 2034 have a point. Anyway, back to the video before the robots take my airbrush. This dauber is pretty big, so it won't reach every spot. For the corners and tight areas, I'm using a small piece of foam held with tweezers. Not all foams are created equal, so you'll have to find the one that works for you. Sometimes even the green scrub side of a kitchen sponge can do the trick. Now I'm switching to a lighter shade of rust, and you can really see how effective this dauber is. It can leave everything from tiny chips to bigger ones, depending on how you use it. Once you get the hang of it, you can control the effect. Hitting edges creates some fantastic chipping patterns. Definitely worth trying out, and if you need a small pack, Hobby Lobby usually has them. If I hadn't learned about this dauber trick, I'd probably be laying on rust shades with a sponge and then adding chipping fluid before covering it all in German yellow. It would look fine, but it tends to have that 3D overdone look. The dauber though, it gives me that natural worn-in rust effect. From here, I can start blending in my other rust tones and make this thing look properly weathered and awesome. I wonder if they make daubers in different sizes or shapes. Probably not, but that would be pretty cool. Oh, and just a quick FYI while we're on the topic, leather dye works great on wood too. Some of those brown shades really soak in and give it a nice, realistic tone. So there's your random dauber fact for the day. Stupid car. Now that car with the bad muffler has finally passed, and we just missed the ice machine going off, let's get back to it. Oh, and speaking of background noise, the hawks have returned safely, in case anyone was wondering. Alright, back to the dauber. There's not much more I can say about this technique, and I think I added like 5 extra minutes of footage, so I'll probably have to trim it down. Then again, I did make a whole video once that was just me rambling, so we'll see. Maybe if I can come up with some good rambles, I'll leave it in. But I don't want to bore you too much, at least not intentionally. Here's a question for you that will really help me out. What do you actually enjoy most about my content? Is it the model building in the background while I ramble about life and hobby stuff? Or is it just the modeling itself? I've been thinking maybe I should rename the channel The Rambling Modeler. Though I'm pretty sure the YouTube algorithm would take one look at that and say, nope, we're not promoting that guy. In case anyone's here just for the models, I better talk about them. So at this point, I'm thinking about adding some chipping fluid and then a coat of German yellow to see how that turns out. The road wheels though, they're going to be an issue. Honestly, I should have left off a lot more parts and painted them all separately. But like I said before, this whole thing is a bit of a test run. Maybe I'll revisit it again in the future, and with what I've learned here, it should turn out, it should turn out a lot better. Ooh, sorry about that one. When is a model really done? What do I mean by that, you ask? Well, I've been trying to figure out the right plan for when and how to do certain techniques. once a model's painted, you move into the weathering phase, right? But what comes first? For me, I usually give the model a satin finish and then start with the pin wash. So, I've been thinking, it might be time to come up with a proper step-by-step guide for that whole process. Of course, between each step, you've got to add, I'm Italian, you got to add a clear coat before moving on. You've got to protect your work. No sense in ruining hours of effort with one bad swipe of thinner. So, what comes next? Maybe a filter. Oh my god, wait. That might actually go before the pin wash. You see, this isn't exactly an easy order to figure out. I've been watching different videos and every builder seems to have their own way of doing it. So, why am I even trying to pin this all down? Well, honestly, I want to come up with a reliable method, not just to stay consistent, but to help me get these videos out in a more timely manner. Alright, back to the build, for those of you who came for that, and not my rambling. Well, we're on the lightest rust color now, and you can really start to see the effect come together. I wasn't originally planning on it, but I think layering in some weathering powders using the same dauber, well maybe, and then a brush, method might really add something extra. So why not go all out and experiment, right? Sure, I'll probably end up covering half of what I just did, but that's modeling for you. We spend hours perfecting an effect only to hide most of it under the next layer. A stark, dare I say, Tony Stark difference? Next up is the lower hull, and once that's done, we'll be ready to move into the pigment stage of the build. Now, will that make it into this video? Probably not. I'm running a bit behind, and I'm always have to have my Sunday video out on time. Wednesday uploads, though, that's more of a hit or miss situation, depending on how the week goes. Anyway, I'm rambling again, so I might as well go the distance. Cut me, Mick! That was my best, oh my god, what's the name of that movie? Rocky impression. Is it better than my Emperor? I think the Emperor was better. So, what's next after the filter and pin wash? Well, back in the old days, you'd just paint, wash, dry brush, and call it done. But now, there are so many steps. Maybe add some dirt and grime instead of the clicks? Well, there are tons of ways to do that. Funny thing is, a tutorial video never really does that well for me. But I still plan on doing a set of them. Why? Because I like the punishment. Well, no. Because even if just one person finds it and really gets something out of it, that's worth it to me. Maybe I'll just dig through some of my old footage and finally make a few of those tutorial videos for you. In fact, I think I can get the first one out by Wednesday. Oh, maybe. It's been a rough week for Instacart, so next week I really need to push harder, build that stash back up, and keep saving for my 3D printer. Oh boy, I can't wait for that day to come. Alright, back to model talk. Yep, still using that dauber. I just love this thing, if you couldn't already tell. It's honestly amazing, and I can't say enough about how well it works for chipping. You'll probably hear me rave about it in every single painting video from now on. They're cheap, easy to get, and just plain effective, and no, I don't get any kind of commission or kickback for saying that. Just a happy modeler sharing a great find. So grab a pack, give it a try, and then come back and tell me what your thoughts are. Oh, the ice machine comes through. I think the effect is really starting to take shape now, and when it comes to pigments, I've got two options. I can try to go in dry for a more natural dusted look, or mix them with a medium to build up some texture and layering. Well, we'll see which way it goes once I get there. After that, I'll break out some oils from ammo and try to darken a few areas to bring out that contrast. The next video should be pretty interesting. Can't wait to see how this Rustoration transforms this tiger tank. I could probably stop here and most of you would say, that looks awesome. But before I move on to the pigments, I'm going to take a quick look at some historical photos, get a few rusting ideas and inspiration so this thing looks as authentic as possible. And there's not too many tigers left in this world today, so what exactly it would look like, well, we'll see. For now, though, I need to wrap up this stage of the Rustoration, so we can move on to that next step. I'm going in with my trusty dauber to finish this up. Hit every spot I can, and then go in with some foam and a brush to tie everything together. Before I started, I knew this would be my first step, but I wasn't exactly sure how it would turn out. Now that I see it, I'm pretty happy with the effect. The pigments and oils later on should really take it up another notch. I went ahead and gave the road wheels and even the tracks a go with this technique. Right now, everything looks kind of, well, the same. But once I layer in some of the other effects, that should help break things up a bit. As for the weld seams, I don't think they would really rust that much. Maybe a bit dirty. So I'll leave them as bare metal for now and tackle that effect towards the end of the build. Before we wrap up this video, I want to give you a sneak peek of what's coming in the next segment of this Rustoration build. I'll be adding a lot more to push that 80+ year look, so you'll definitely won't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button and join the channel to follow along. I've got plenty of options for adding more rust, because yes, this tank definitely needs it. I've got some washes to experiment with, and next up are those pigments. By mixing in a medium, I can build up a layered 3D effect in the heavier rusted areas. I also finally got my hands on some Ammo by MIG oil brushers, and guess what? They've got rust colors. I haven't used these before, but they should work just like my Obtolong oils. The nice part is each one comes with its own applicator built in. Using the dauber really gave me a solid base of rust to build on with the other techniques. Now, I'll admit I'm a bit nervous about one of the steps I plan on doing. I'll be adding some heavy scratches and effects, then painting the tank in German yellow, and finally removing most of that paint to reveal the rust underneath. If all goes well, it should look pretty good. But I'll need to study historical photos closely to see just how much paint would realistically remain after 80 years. Well, not historical photos, more recent photos of tanks coming out of the water and whatnot. I've set up a bunch of different products from Ammo, AK, and others to see what I might use in the next video. I want to wrap up this project and move on to my World War I/World War II What If tank. That's going to be a lot of fun. For the rest of this build, I still need to gather a few more items for the diorama, so hopefully I can get that finished soon. Let's ramble a bit before we wrap up this video. You know, watching this clip, I realize I have a ton of supplies, but how much of it do I actually use? I love my Ammo by MIG, and I've got a mountain of it on the bench, but do I really need it all? I sometimes wonder how much money I wasted on this stuff that I only use once, when I probably already had something that would have worked just fine, but I have to get that next best thing. Does anyone else have this problem, or is it just me? Lately, I decided to focus on just one set of paints and effects. You can probably guess which one, right? Yep, Ammo by MIG, and honestly, for the most part, their line is fantastic. You can follow their tutorials online and really take your model to the next level. But I'll admit, I sometimes get caught up chasing the next best thing. And sometimes it turns out to be just that, the next best thing, like the dauber. So, a little advice: if you see something I'm using, take a minute to watch some videos first and see if you really need it before you buy it. So, here are all the things I'm going to use in my next video. Did I need all of this? Probably not, but I got it, so I might as well use it. Alright, we are spinning, so this video is about to end. I'm really happy in how it came out. I got a lot more to do. The road wheels need to be touched up. Wish I did them separately. I wish I did a lot of this separately, but that's how you learn for the next build. Alright, I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. And I will see you in the next video.